Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. In this presentation, we will explore some important concepts related to inheritance distribution, focusing on the specifics of shares among heirs. On this first slide, we see the copyright 2025 by continuous learning development. We also have a table illustrating different types of heirs and their shares. For example, a daughter receives a half share, while a paternal half-sibling gets 1/6. This means that after each heir has received their prescribed share, the remaining remains are shared according to specific rules. This process often results in smaller shares compared to other distribution methods, such as allol. To clarify, we'll look at examples like Radd, which helps us understand these distribution principles better. Let's dive deeper into how these shares work and what they mean for inheritance planning. So on this slide, we see the copyright 2025 by continuous learning development. This just indicates the copyright for this material. Moving to the table, we have the number 3, representing the third point we're discussing today. The fraction 1/3 or 1/3 highlights that we're focusing on a specific portion of the topic, which is about the mother, as indicated in the table. Now, the key point here is about Radd, which has two forms. The first form occurs in cases where neither a husband nor a wife is present. It's important to understand that Radd, or return, can have different types depending on the situation. Specifically, we're looking at situations where one heir acquires the heritage through prescription and Radd. This might sound complex, but essentially, it refers to scenarios where inheritance is transferred or returned based on certain legal or customary processes, like prescription, which is a long-standing claim, or Radd, which is a form of reversion or return of the estate. Understanding these forms is crucial because they influence how inheritance is distributed, especially in cases with no direct spouses involved. It helps us see the broader picture of inheritance law and emphasizes the importance of these specific concepts in handling estate matters. Throughout this presentation, keep in mind that these details form the foundation for understanding more complex inheritance scenarios, and recognizing these forms helps ensure fair and accurate distribution according to the law. Let's take a closer look at how inheritance is distributed when multiple heirs are involved. As you can see here, we have different categories of heirs, such as daughters and grandchildren, with their respective shares. When more than one heir inherits through prescription or Radd, and they belong to the same category, the shares are combined and distributed equally among them. This is important because it ensures fairness when heirs of the same type are involved. Now, in cases where the remains are to be distributed to heirs from different categories, the approach is a bit different. Here, we first determine the total of all their shares, regardless of their categories, and then distribute the inheritance based on this combined total. Understanding these principles is key to ensuring proper and just distribution according to Islamic inheritance laws. It also highlights how the categories and shares interact, emphasizing the importance of careful calculation in each scenario. Let's look at a case where either the husband or the wife is present. It's important to note that in such situations, neither the husband nor the wife is entitled to Radd. Now, when we have heirs who are entitled to Radd and they belong to the same category, the distribution is based on giving each their rightful share first. So, the husband or the wife will receive their designated portion, and any remaining shares will go to the other heirs. For example, if we consider the table here, the wife might have a certain share, and after she receives her part, the rest will be distributed among the other heirs accordingly. The key point to remember is that the distribution respects the categories of heirs, and when they are the same, the shares are allocated sequentially, first to those entitled, then to the remaining heirs. This approach ensures fairness and clarity in the inheritance process, aligning with the overall principles we've discussed in this presentation. All right, let's take a closer look at what happens when the heirs entitled to Radd are of different categories. The process starts with analyzing each heir individually. We look at the specific situation of every heir to understand their entitlement properly. Next, we perform another analysis to determine how to distribute shares between the couple, if they're involved, and then allocate whatever remains to the other heirs. This step ensures we consider the couple's share separately before dealing with the rest. Then, we do a third analysis focusing solely on the heirs who are entitled to the remaining estate, but this time, we exclude the couple altogether. This helps us clarify the distribution among the remaining heirs without the couple's involvement. Finally, we perform a fourth analysis based on a unified basis. Here, we check the relationship between the shares assigned under the couple's analysis and the overall basis of their shares. We look at concepts like at Tawafuk and at Tabian to ensure the distribution is consistent and fair. This process is essential because it helps us handle complex inheritance situations systematically, ensuring all heirs receive their rightful share in accordance with Islamic inheritance laws. Let's take a closer look at this slide. The key idea here is about the concept of at-tabian, which essentially means mutual agreement or consensus. When we analyze the shares of those entitled to the remains, we start by establishing a foundational basis, what we call the unified basis. This basis is determined by placing the analysis of the entitled parties above the analysis of the couple. In other words, we first consider the shares of those who are entitled, then use that as a basis to multiply or distribute shares among the couple. The most important concept here is that this unified basis acts as a sort of common ground. Once we have this, we multiply it by the individual shares of either the couple. This way, we ensure that the distribution is fair and consistent with the overall entitlement analysis. Finally, to get the final shares, we multiply the share of those entitled to the remains within the couple analysis by their respective shares in their own analysis. This process ensures that the distribution aligns with both the overall entitlement and the specific contributions or shares of each individual. So, in summary, this method helps us maintain fairness and accuracy when distributing the estate by carefully using the unified basis as a reference point. Let's take a closer look at this table, which summarizes our analysis across different categories. First, notice the row labeled Main Analysis. This is our overall overview, with a total of 12 cases. When we delve into the couple's analysis, it shows 4 cases, indicating specific patterns or relationships between partners. Moving to the Remains analysis, we see 6 cases, which focus on the surviving family members or remaining individuals involved. Lastly, the Unified analysis combines these perspectives, totaling 3 cases, giving us a comprehensive view. Now, looking at the family relations, the table breaks down into specific kinship categories. For example, the wife accounts for 4 cases in the Main analysis, 3 in the couple's analysis, and 1 in the Remains analysis, with a total of 4 overall. The full sister appears more frequently, with totals of 9 cases across all analyses, 6 in the Main, 3 in the couple's, and 3 in the Remains. The paternal sister is less common, but still significant, with 2 cases in the Main analysis and 1 in the Remains analysis. What's most important here is understanding how these patterns help us see the relationships and dynamics within families in these cases. By comparing these different analyses, we gain insights into how family ties influence the overall situation, which ties back to our broader theme of understanding familial roles and connections in our study. Let's take a closer look at this slide. The key idea here is the concept of at-tawafuk, which essentially means harmony or alignment in the analysis process. When we analyze the shares of those entitled to the remains, we start by identifying an intermediary number. This number is derived from the analysis of the couple or the specific group involved. What's important is that this intermediary number sits above the couple's analysis, serving as a kind of foundational multiplier. We use this number to multiply the entire couple's analysis, which then gives us a unified basis. Think of it as creating a common ground or a shared reference point for the calculations. Once we have this unified basis, we can then apply it to find the individual shares. Specifically, we multiply this intermediary number by the share of either person in the couple's analysis. This step ensures that the shares are proportionally aligned within the overall context. Finally, the intermediary number of the shares of those entitled to the remains, meaning the shares assigned to each individual, is multiplied by their respective shares from the original analysis. This process helps us arrive at a fair and consistent distribution that respects the overall analysis and the specific entitlements. Overall, this method ensures that our calculations are coherent, proportional, and in harmony with the foundational analysis, which is crucial for accurate estate distribution. All right, let's take a closer look at this final slide. As you can see, we've summarized the key analysis points across different perspectives. On the left, under main analysis, we have a total of 12 cases, which serves as our baseline. Moving to the couples analysis, we see 4 cases, highlighting the dynamics within the couple. Then, in the remains analysis, there are 6 cases, focusing on the residual or ongoing aspects. Finally, the unified analysis combines these perspectives into 3 cases, giving us a holistic view. Breaking down the specifics, the a quarter or quarter indicates the wife, with 1 case in the main analysis and 1 in the couples analysis. The 1/3 or third refers to the mother, appearing in 4 main cases, 3 couple cases, and 2 in the unified analysis. The smallest segment, or 6th, relates to the maternal sister, with 2 main cases, 1 couple case, and 1 in the unified analysis. The key takeaway here is how these different analyses interrelate, showing where certain individuals or relationships play more prominent roles. It emphasizes the importance of considering multiple perspectives to gain a comprehensive understanding, which ties back to our overall theme of continuous learning and developing nuanced insights. This slide really encapsulates that by illustrating the distribution and overlap across different family members and analysis types.